Hope everybody's ready for the day. I'm going to start in a minute. I want to talk about self-sabotage in sales and marketing because it's massive. And I'm going to tell you something that like you won't believe, but actually happens all the time. So, good morning, everybody. Hope you're all well. Hope you can see me. I'm just checking all the streams appear. And everybody's alive. Self-sabotage in sales and marketing. Oh my God. I see this one a lot. And I wanted to talk about it today because I thought if I did it live, it might help a lot of people. And over the years, and I'm talking years here, over the years, I've seen a number of people do things that actually messes them up, messes their business up, messes their sales opportunities up. And I want to talk about a couple of them because if you spot any of these, sorry, I'm just tinkering on my desk whilst I'm just waiting for the live notifications to kick in. So good morning, everybody. If you're here, if you've just joined, it took me a little minute to get live. So you might be sabotaging your own marketing success. Yeah, your own sales success. And people go, Dean, why would a business owner, why would somebody actually sabotage their success? Well, I'll go into that in a second. I'm fidgeting with stuff this morning, which is really annoying, I know. So many years ago, I had a client, and I've learned that if you have a client like this, you have to get rid of them as fast as you possibly can, or you bring the situation to a head really quickly, because there's no way to win. So if a client, the first one is, the biggest one I see is a client who hires somebody, and bear in mind, for 10 or so years, I worked in marketing agency world. So if any of you have been in marketing agency world, let me know in the chat if you've seen or come across this. The client hires the expertise. So they hire the expertise, and when the expert starts doing their thing, they suddenly start to exert more and more control. And I've seen this in a few scenarios. I've seen it in television. I've seen it in general social media. Good morning, Thanos. Thanos, that's such an awesome name, by the way. Thanos is just such an awesome name. Good morning, MD Ator. So the client tries to exert more and more control and tell the expert how to do the work. So this is a common problem in a lot of scenarios. And if you don't deal with it quickly, there's two ways it can go. The first way is you end up with a fractious relationship where you're constantly fighting the client to do the right thing. That's the first route. The second route is you go along with what the client says, right? Neither of those ways works, by the way. A fractious, difficult, uphill battle relationship with a client is not good. And also a relationship where the client, you just comply with what the client says, even though you're the expert and they're not, is bad. And I've actually made the mistake of doing both, when what I should have done is either had an honest conversation with the client and say, look, you've hired us to be the expert. You've hired us to get you a result. You either let us do it our way or go find somebody who'll do it your way. And you have to do that, because the client will either toe the line and go, right, let's do it your way, or they'll go and find somebody else. But what I found is when you have the uphill fractious relationship, yeah, where constantly fighting the client to get your thing done, number one, it's not healthy. And number two, you end up with a blame. The client will go, I told you so. And it ends up a battle. Yeah. And I've met some clients who, morning, Ian. Yeah. I've met some clients who hire people and it's almost like they want them to fail. Now, of course, there's our own failings. I'm not saying that, I don't make mistakes. Anybody's, of course we do. But you have to operate in your own space. Our businesses, I know this sounds really crude, but our businesses is fundamentally a factory, a sausage factory. We take somebody in at one end, we take the raw materials in, a client and their goals, and we help them put them out. We have a repeatable process, a system to get people through. If the client starts telling you how to do your work and you comply, that's the other option. You end up where you have a happy client until it all fails. And then, right, I'll tell you, I made this mistake about 5-6 years ago, right? Client was adamant they wanted things done their way. They hired us for the expertise, and I went along with it. And stupid, really. And I went along with it, and we knew that there was problems, but we did everything they said. Yeah. So we delivered the artwork, we tweaked everything, we did the campaign the way they wanted to do, and then it failed. And they failed, and I was like, it was an uncomfortable conversation because it was along the lines of, we hired you to get this result. It didn't happen. It's all your fault. We want our money back. And I was like, hang on a minute, but you've told us exactly what to do. You've told us you want to do it this way. You've told us you want to do it this way. You've told it you want to do it this way. You've approved everything along the way. Yeah, I want to do that. I want to do that. I want to do that. I don't 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 want to do that. And we've done as you've asked. So you end up in a situation where both parties are right. Both parties are right. We've hired the expert to get a result. But then the client forgets the bit that actually I've overridden the expert in every different scenario, and the expert's just done as I've asked, and I've agreed to every step. And it usually comes back and bites you in the butt with, but you didn't tell us clearly enough that this is what would happen. And so you end up screwed, basically. In one way or another, you're screwed. Because if you do as they say and it fails, it's your fault. And if you resist, it's like you're being difficult. You have to get out of these situations. And I've never seen one end pleasantly. And even now, sometimes I'll trip up and fall into it. And I have to come back and go, right, this isn't going to work this way. You either do it our way, which is what we do. Could you imagine if you walked up to a Ford dealership and said, yeah, I want to customize the car. I want a Ford, but can I have a Vauxhall badge on it? And, oh, I really like the interior of the Skoda, and I want that. And they'll say, no, right? Ford does Ford. That's what they do. And if you don't get clients into your sausage factory, I'll give you another example. And this is something, this not cost me in terms of money, but in terms of sleepless night and heartache, this cost me a lot. And it was not having that sausage factory model. Now, of course, I'm not talking about doing the same thing literally for every customer, but I am talking about a process or systems that people run through. Many years ago, again, 5-6 years ago, we had a very open-ended service offering where basically we would help people with anything, marketing or sales related. And we used to get loads of clients. And the problem was to get a standard operating procedure was near impossible because every client was different. Every process was different. It was like everything was different. Everything was unique. And it was an absolute nightmare because there was no ability to process or systemize anything. So your QA would go out the window, everything would go out the window because it was all bespoke. And I was like, I can't live like this. I can't work like this, where it feels like I don't feel in control. Some of my team didn't feel in control. And it was driving everybody crazy. So when I put this up and go into sabotage, let me tell you how that sabotage comes, right? There's a difference between having a happy client and a successful client. And what do I mean? What do I mean? You can make a client happy and ultimately fail, which is not good. You can have a client result which will make them happy in the end goal. And sometimes what we have to do, we have to be a little bit ruthless. We have to say, this is what we do, this is how we do it. And if you don't like that, go somewhere else. Because otherwise what happens is you morph to every whim of every client. And of course, there's flexibilities. Of course. What I'm talking about is where there is no structure. Why does that happen? Well, often it's our eagerness to get business. Our eagerness to get business means that we'll take it on in any way, shape, or form. I found that when we tell clients how we work and the way we work, it actually brings structure that they can appreciate. And I've told people we don't do it that way. That's not what we do. And some of those people have gone away, but now have got a sustainable, repeatable process. But sometimes what happens, or the biggest one, I'm going to come to another one in a minute. The biggest one is our eagerness for a sale actually screws us up. Sometimes we're so keen to get a deal, we'll do the deal at any cost. And I don't mean price here. I mean the cost to the internal workings of the business. We'll take on work that we know isn't a good fit for what we do because we need the work or we need the business. And there are times when you might have to suck that up and do that. But if you operate your business that way all of the time, you will drive yourself into an early grave and you will leave behind loads of problems because every client will dictate your process and every client will tell you they want theirs done that way, which means you either have to be the font of all knowledge or every team works differently. Every team works differently and it'll screw you up. It really will screw you up. So taking on work at any cost because you're eager for a sale can be brutal. And I'm not meaning just price here. I'm meaning process. If you take a client on, and I have the example of they hire the expert and then and then suddenly they become Ridley Scott because it used to be very much about video for us. So in other words, we need the results, but actually I'm going to tell you how I want the result. That's not how it works. You don't go to the doctor. You don't go to the doctor and the doctor says, this is what's wrong with you. He says, this is the prescription I'm going to give you. And then you go, no, 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 no. I actually want this prescription. That's not how it works. And if doctors did that, they'd be struck off. Yeah. And if you do that in your business, it will hurt you, not just in the pocket, but in your well-being, in your personal life. It will infect every element of your life. If you don't run the business the way you know you need to run it, yes, learn, yes, be flexible, but fundamentally, you have a process, you have systems, clients have to fit with that. If they don't, they break your processes, they break your systems, and you have a disaster waiting to happen. So they're key. Now, the other one on the self-sabotage, and it comes from the fear of losing a client, and it comes from the fear of not having revenue, is that you don't talk to the client. And I see this a lot in businesses, and this is some good advice for anybody watching this, is I am not my customer. You are not your customer. So your perspective on the world is totally different. And we have to accept that, right? I am not my customer because I know how to do the things that they don't. Now, the problem comes is, and this is common with clients in a marketing agency world, but it's also common with business owners generally. So it happens to marketing agency owners, it happens to me, it happens to you, it happens to everybody. And it is this: we are not our customers. So you go, yeah, I know that. Common sense, Dean. Yeah. So often, a lot of what you think about your customers isn't correct. And we have to accept that. Sometimes we are totally off with our customers. I can remember a conversation about 7 or 8 years ago, and I was talking to a client I was consulting with and been consulting with them for years. And they said to me, we know our demographic is young professionals. And I was like, no, it's not. And they were like, no, we know. We know. How do you know this? And it was basically a hunch. Happened to be that the person saying it was a young professional. Happened to be that that was their age range, their demographic. So we did a little email survey, and we said, we want to send you free gifts and vouchers for your birthdays, and did an email campaign to figure out how old was the audience, how old was the customer base. So guess what? The customer base was 55 plus. Right. So they're putting all of their branding out with young, fit professionals and all this kind of stuff, drinking coffee and all that. And it's like, no, the audience is 50 plus. Now, if you go, geez, we've got a very old audience here and we need to bring our demographic down, that's a different conversation. But their supposition was their audience is actually young professionals, 20s and early 30s, when actually it was 50 plus. And I think it was more like 55, if I remember correctly. Sometimes what we think infects our marketing, and we are not our customers. I can remember we did a branding exercise. This is about 5 years ago for a company. And went through and said, right, they were going more up market and they were a bit like PowerPointy and Microsoft Publisher in their styling. So we come up with this very clean, very stripped down, minimalist branding. And the owner of the business says, yep, my partner prefers this instead. And I was like, okay, great. Totally weird and abstract stuff. And it was like, yeah, but your partner isn't your demographic. Look at the market you're going in. Look at how they're presenting themselves. You've got to stand out there, but yes, you've got to look similar to the market. If you want to go up market, you have to fit in that space, not try and be a bit weird in that space. And we had this whole argument where it was about, actually, my partner wants this design. And it was like, yeah, but your partner isn't the customer that you're going for. You are not your customer. And that happens to us. We think about it from our own perspective, and effectively what we do, and I see this a lot on LinkedIn. We actually talk to ourselves. We write posts that we like. And our posts aren't for us. My LinkedIn feed is not for me. Yes, we're all guessing to an extent, but I'm learning from what people are telling me and what people are talking about, because I don't want to create a feed for me. I want to create a feed for my target audience. Good morning, UK. Good morning, Mike. Good morning, David. Good morning, Bradley. So let me give you another scenario of this. And I see this a lot. And I've had a couple of conversations with marketing agency owners about this, is that a lot of what they produce in terms of content is actually for other marketing agency owners. It's, look at our show reel and how good we are. Look at how this is. And never really talk about what's the real benefit of that agency for clients. Go have a look in your LinkedIn feed, right? Go look at your own posts, go look at other people's posts and go, did they write this for their customers or did they write this for themselves? And the way to determine that is, are you speaking at the level that they're at? Are you speaking to their needs and challenges? You know, am I adding value to their world, or am I just regurgitating stuff that maybe my competitors or my colleagues would enjoy? Now, it's real tough because you really have to get out your own head. But fundamentally, we're not here on social media. We're not here for ourselves. And I was talking to somebody recently in the marketing space, and they said they'd got no business from LinkedIn. I was like, okay. I only met them recently, and I looked through their content, and there was no definition of what they did for clients, first of all, so it wasn't clear. The second thing was all of their content seemed to speak to their competitors. And so when I looked in the comments, all of the stuff that they were sharing was good stuff, by the way, but all of it was other marketing people, marketing agencies engaging back with their content. And they were talking about agency life and agency world and some of the challenges. And it was like, who's your customer? Are they agencies? Well, not really. So why are you talking to them? Now, of course, network and get to know people, of course, like that. But if your content's just appealing to people who do what you do, there's a problem. You want to try and move away from that. And that means talking to where people are at. So I'm not going to talk to people about on social. Most of my target audience, we've got our corporate business, which is kind of separate from this. And then we got our small business stuff, which is a bit I love. I'm really passionate about that stuff. So solopreneurs and small businesses. And I'm not going to talk to them about how they get £5 million worth of business in the next 12 months from LinkedIn. One, because it looks sketchy, and it's unbelievable for that target audience. Yet with my corporate clients, that's what I'm doing. That's what we're doing. So think about the target audience of who you're talking to. Is the content relevant and realistic for them? Is it something they can consume for themselves? Is there some stuff that's actionable in there? Do they prefer video? Do they prefer text? But fundamentally, we're all here to get the attention of clients and put them through, crudely speaking, our sausage factory. Yeah. I know we don't like to call it that, but every business has to have a repeatable process, a system that puts clients through, and a system that brings clients to them. There's a system to bring the clients to them, and there's a system to deliver for clients. Those two systems have to work together. The system to deliver, you can't have a situation where you change and break your system for every client. It has to be the same system, repeatable. Otherwise, you can't grow. And likewise, that system of bringing clients to your sausage factory has to bring the right people, and it has to bring them consistently. So as much as we love the sexiness of graphics and all that kind of stuff, actually, the thing that makes everything work is cogs. And you can't have a system where you just make your cogs up or change your cogs to suit. And sometimes our own eagerness for clients, for sales, can actually hinder the system bringing people in and the system of delivering for clients. Those two things are interlinked. You get the wrong client for the system, you got a problem. You get a client who tells you how they want the system to run, you've got a problem. And it will mess with your business. But it all comes down to you being confident in what you do, being clear in the results you have, and being fixed on the process that you deliver. Then you go to market with that. If you don't do that, you will chase any old client. And I'm not saying, I'm not going to get into this bad clients, good clients, all that stuff. It'll just be wrong fit, because you'll try and adapt your machine to them. And then your machine, you don't have a machine anymore. You've just broke it. You've just took the cogs out and gone, right, we'll just figure out how we get this in. Yeah. And these are things that you are in control of. You are in control of your sausage factory. I know we don't like calling it that, but fundamentally, you've got to have a system where people can get from this is where I am to this is where I want to be. And if you don't have a process, you can't grow. You can't scale, because that scaling requires systems and repeatable processes. If you're a solopreneur and you need one client a month, that client can come and they can dictate how they work for you. But if you want to build out where you've got a team, that team needs to follow that process, and it just doesn't work. But it generally comes from a lack of confidence in, or fear of not getting clients, so you go after anything, or fear that you're not getting enough opportunities, so you'll go and try new marketing methods which actually either undermine your value or bring you the wrong people. So it's real tough, but actually us being clear and certain and fixed in how we want to do business, and then going to the market, obviously there's some tweaks. We have to make it achievable and realistic for the client. But if you just make up your systems or adapt your systems or build new systems every time you get a new client, you can't scale. It just doesn't work. Just doesn't work. So I don't know whether you've found any of these issues yourselves, or maybe you're way better at this than me, but I've found these issues where clients have either got a different way of thinking than their customers, or clients want to exert their way and you don't stand up for your way. These are all things that can make really talented, really expert business people and give them so many sleepless nights, so much stress, so much anxiety, because they just can't make something work. They can't make it work. And it's not the business model, it's actually the system. If you break the system, you don't have a business model. So you're just basically, you might as well just be employees. Yeah. Think about it like that. If you don't have a system, or you break the system for clients, you're just an employee following instructions. And then when those instructions don't work out to the benefit of the client, you get the blame too. So it's our fault. It's always our fault. But sometimes we have to set those parameters of how we're going to trade and how we're going to do business. Otherwise, we're doomed. So I don't want to end it on we're doomed. It's bank holiday weekend this weekend. One thing I will say is we are entering, I know everybody's talking up recession. And a recession forces you to think a bit differently and refine what you're doing. But September, October, November are the number one period. Those 3 months are the biggest trading period for B2B businesses that is uninterrupted. So September, October, November, and we're a week or so, just over a week away from September. I would give you some advice. Don't stress about what you don't know yet. We don't know when the recession's coming, and the recession's out of our control. And if it's happened, it's happened. If it's happening, it's happening. We can complain all we like about that, but the reality is September, October, November are your prime months to make an impact and really do well. I've always found that if you do well in that period, the year later, you have a good bounce into the new year. Because you see a dip in December at the end of December and beginning of January, that actually September, October, November are prime B2B months. They're uninterrupted. There's no bank holidays. You can just go at it. So if you do not have a plan right now for September, I encourage you, in the week we've got now, the week and a bit, make one, because this is the time when people go, we're back off holiday, we need to do something, we need to do all of these things that we've put off. So this is prime season. Then we go into December, and Christmas parties and all that stuff can slow everything down. And then January, people come back and it's a slow start. And then middle of January, it's like, no, 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 no. So this is your chance now, September, October, November, to really go at it seriously. And I know some people here, like Mike, he'll probably have a good run in January because he's into health and fitness, and that's generally when people think about that. But actually, September, October, November is like massive. And if you just drift into it, you'll get into it and go, oh crap, December's nearly here. It's near the year end. At the end of the year, I've got to take action. No, no, no. You should be doing it now. Make everything count for September, October, November. December's obviously, we don't know how December's going to pan out because of the way, we've had Christmas falls and all that kind of stuff. And I've found sometimes you have a record December, and then other times it's like, ugh. January can be very similar if there's cold weather, high energy bills, people restrain themselves a little bit. But September, October, November, it's 93 days, is it? 92 days. 92 days of uninterrupted trading. So I would strongly, not suggest, tell you, if you do not have a plan to make the most of those 3 months, you need to do it this week, even if it's just really simple. If a plan is more than one or two pages, it's too complicated. Why? Because you've got to implement it every day. And if it's too long and you have to keep referring back to what am I doing again? What am I doing again? You need 1-page plan and go, right, September, this is what we're doing. October, this is what we're doing. November, this is what we're doing. Now let's just go make it happen. So that's my little rant for the morning. Anyway, I'm going to go. Thank you so much for joining me this morning. Really do appreciate it. I love hearing your comments, your thoughts. If you agree with me, great. If you disagree with me, great. Love hearing what you've got to say. So I want to know what you think. Tell me what you think in the comments on these posts. If you see a post and you think Dean's onto something, tell me, because it's encouraging for me. If you think I've lost the plot, be kind and tell me I've lost the plot. Anyway, make the most of this period we're going into now. It's going to be your opportunity to really end 2022 in the best shape you can. So go do it. Go make it happen. I'll see you tomorrow.